happy Wednesday. Valerie Hunt, Run RX, here with Ask Me Anything Live. So you can always write comments in here and I will come in and look at your question. If you ever have questions ahead of time, we have all of these events posted and you can actually post a question in the comments. So I'm going to go with the questions that I've gotten throughout the week. And so if you have a question, again, you can definitely comment it, and I will, again, periodically, I have my glasses, so if I see a comment, I will come over and read it. One of the main things that I've gotten feedback on, I get a lot of the same questions, so just so you know, sometimes you'll hear a repeat, and it's simply because the whole goal of Run RX is to help you guys run pain-free, to help anybody run pain-free. So that's my number one. So if there's any pain at all, then we want to discuss the why. Why are we having this pain? And how do I get rid of it, right? What's my magic trick? So the magic is in the consistency of you working on your running. And that's what it always goes back to. And I think that what some of you guys, we have, and this will stay right up, we have on 2 things you can do if you're hurting. Number one, we've got for free on the website, Run RX quiz. We have a quiz that asks you, where is your pain? What is hurting you? What is stopping you from reaching your running goals? Is it shin splints, plantars, knees, hips, IT band, low back? Doesn't matter what it is, we will take you through and give you a skill, strength, and self-care to help you get started out of that pain. That's number one, right? Let me get out of this pain. And so we have that for you. Okay, great question. All right, we got 2 questions. Yes. Okay, so how long? Oh, so 2 really good questions. Okay, so, and they work together, so that's even nicer. So someone just said, how long does it take for me to get rid of my pain? He's got shin splints. And then someone else said, you keep talking about a leg pull. Will you please explain? Absolutely. Fabulous questions. Okay, so real quick, I want to say this. When you have a standard of movement that everyone can agree on, that everyone agrees on, this is what we're all trying to work towards, then when there's an error in the standard or in the movement, we can then work on correcting the movement, and while you're correcting the movement, recovering the part of the body that was injured before. So this works together. So let me just say this. In running, now here's the thing, did you even ever think about your shin before you had a shin splint? And I'm not being rhetorical, I'm saying that as an honest person. When I first started running, I didn't know about plantar fasciitis until I got plantar fasciitis, and then I knew immediately where my plantar was. Shin splints, now I know, right? We actually learn as runners about our body when our body says to us, hey, not happy over here, right? So that's just kind of a funny thing. So, but I say that because how much time do you spend on your shins preparing to go for a run? How much time do you spend preparing your calves, preparing your hamstring, preparing your toes? So we don't listen to our signals or what we should be doing until we get something back to us. So then if I have a shin splint, for example, then most people will be like, oh, ice it, rest it, stretch it, elevate it, all these things you can do to help reduce the pain of the shin splint. Fine. But if you go back to running and you make that same error, that same mistake in your movement again, you're just going to keep getting shin splints. Recurring injuries are number one in running. Oh, my old hip. Oh, my old IT band. Oh, my old knee. I hear that all the time. I've been sidelined from running with this shin pain or whatever it is. Don't blame your shin. He's been telling you. So shin splints, by the way, just so we can talk about it, come from the foot landing out in front of the body. So unfortunately, when the foot lands ahead of the body, by the way, it can be like this. So many people that have shin splints, unfortunately, you guys are generally the heel strikers. So when you're actively reaching for the ground, this is like applying the brakes. So I just went, stop. And that stop, that's called a ground reaction force. 3 times my body weight, and I haven't even hit the ground. That's the bummer. So it goes 1, 2. 2 hits for you to get on the ground. And then you're not even in pose yet. What does that even mean? I'll talk about it in a second. But if I reach my foot out in front of my body and my body weight is either behind me or still in the air coming down, you're just asking for shins, knees, hips, back, because then I've got to take my back foot and throw my body forward. So I'm working so hard against gravity and putting more pressure into the ground. Anytime there's extra impact, it hits your body. So the bummer with something like a shin splint. Now here's the really good news. How long does it take to go away? Well, if you're willing to add in some extra skill, strength, and self-care work, then it will go away relatively quickly. I promise. The difference has to be, though, that you cannot keep doing whatever it is you were doing before. So if you're out for like long distance running right now, I'd pull back on my distance, work on my skill, strength, and self-care, and then progress the distance back in. So give your foot time to heal on your shin, but while you're healing, you can be practicing correct movement. This is what I tell people. Why would you not work on your movement, especially if I'm in recovery, okay? So number 1 reason I get shin splints because my foot's out in front. Number 1 reason I get plantar fasciitis is generally because I'm pushing off the back foot. So both of those are just corrected with the same movement. All right, so let's talk about that movement. And that was the other question I got, is someone said, you keep talking about this late pull. What does that mean? Great question. So there's a gait cycle, and the gait cycle is pose, fall, pull. This is the gait cycle I use. It's the pose method of running, and it's really interesting, by the way. I've been teaching pose method for, started in 1999, and I learned it in a book. I read it in a book. I self-taught, so I read the book, and then I got the video, and I memorized it, and I was teaching it, and there was just something about it that didn't feel quite right, so I actually reached out to the author of the book, and I'm hitting 17 years this year of coaching pose, directly learning from the author of the book, Dr. Romanoff. So one of the things that we like to kind of laugh about is how we're getting older too. But the nice part about learning how to move and running correctly is it stays the same, because nature is not changing really. Gravity's always here. However, what has not changed for me, guys, in teaching for 20 years is that it's still not accepted kind of in the running culture. So you're learning like a new language when you've been running for a long time. So that's an interesting thing. So just nice to know facts though. So in running, there's something called the running pose. So if you pull your ankle up under your hip, so right now my hamstring's holding my lifted foot, my body weight's on the ball of my foot that's on the ground, my arms are bent by my side, I'm making an S-like shape. While I'm in this balanced pose, in this pose, and only this pose, I can free fall using gravity, which is what running is. Running, the acceleration of running is free fall. And everyone has the same ability to use it. Your body free falls, and as soon as that body's in motion, you pull your foot up from the ground. And you recover the running pose. So pose itself, or running itself, is a repeated series of the same gait cycle. Your body's falling forward, you pull the foot to keep redirecting that body forward. So you should always be pulling to keep up with your falling body, rather than reaching your foot forward in front of your body and having to sit here and wait for the rest of your body to catch up, because every runner runs through the pose, whether they know it or not. It's just the intent isn't there. So now, okay, that makes a little bit of sense, I hope. So my time to pull. This is timing of the pull. So I fall and pull, and I'm back in pose, which means I'm ready to keep pulling. What we will never feel, what we will never sense is our time in the air. So if I'm late on the pull, what that means is that I fell, I missed it, and I'm still here, so I'm late. So I pulled my foot, but if I'm late, what happened? I'm not in pose. My lifted foot landed early, my back foot's back here, I'm stuck. You physically cannot move forward. How could you move forward? Well, you have two options. You can reach this foot forward, which gives us that shin splint back pain, or we're stuck doing a late pull, like a jump. You see what I mean? So that's pushing. That pushing. So and by the way, for years and years and years and years, people have thought, I thought this too, this is what I was taught. I was taught to push off the ground and reach with my front leg. So I was running like this. Push and reach, right? So it's aggressive. Pushing and reaching and pushing and reaching. You're moving your arms and your legs. You're not really going anywhere. So, I mean, it's like either I'm going to spend a bunch of time on the ground and get more efficient at pushing and reaching and pushing and reaching until I feel my shin splints, or I'm going to get more and more comfortable with the understanding that if I simply allow my body to free fall and keep pulling my foot up using gravity, ground reaction force, and muscle elasticity, then I can actually run much faster and further and work less. So pulling on time means that as my body's falling forward, I pull my foot. And the pull is a rebound-like feeling. So I want to give you guys today an elasticity hop that helps you feel the rebound. So here, I'm trying to not stick my face in there. Okay, sorry. I thought I was going to get some extra questions. But those are the two I got. So we'll stick with shin splints and timing of the pull. One of the other things that happens is if my foot goes out in front of me, okay, which is most of us, so we land out ahead, or our foot's back here, either one, is that extra impact means you're going to not use muscle elasticity, you're going to use active muscle contraction. So what's the difference? Well, think about like weight training. If I gave you 2 weights to put in your hands, and I said, do a bicep curl, right? We've all seen these bicep curls. So that's active contraction. You have a resistance, you have a weight, and you're actively contracting. You're asking this muscle to contract. It's active. Does that make sense? So we want to not use that in running. It's okay if you're standing still and not going anywhere, but if I said to you, hey, grab these 2 dumbbells, stand here and give me 3,000 of these. Whoo! Can you imagine? Your poor arm, your elbow, your arm, your neck, there would be a lot of pain. And it would be an overload on the muscle. But just so you know, that's what you guys are doing when you run and if you push or reach. If I push off the back and my foot is here when I'm on the ground, this is like having a 30-pound ankle weight on for 1,500 steps a mile, okay? And the reason is because once your body weight's gone forward, then your body weight is forward, and now it's trying to hold on to this extra weight behind it. It's just the way it goes. Same thing, why is 3 times my body weight? The way it is. I mean, you can look at the research, there's a lot of good research on it, but active muscle means I'm asking the muscle to work, and I'm using active contraction. Very limiting in endurance. Very limiting for endurance. Great in the weight room, which is why you get a limited number of sets and reps. No one goes into a weight room, they're like 1,500 squats, right? So think about in running, 1,500 steps a mile. Yes, let's see. Hold on, I got a question. Okay, so I would say this. If you can do the strength and skill exercises, like for Shin Splints, for example, okay? And I'll go back. I love that this going to go back and forth. If I can do my ankle openers, by the way, we have on the, real quick, on the YouTube channel, the RunRx YouTube is a 30-day reboot. It's great. It's got the skill, the strength, and the self-care. If I'm just getting started running, if I have an injury, if I'm just coming back, if I just kind of want to know what I'm talking about, it is really good, especially that day one practice of the basic skills of running. So he's saying, what do I do if I do have shin splints? Well, this is one I would say, if I can correct during the run, like if it's not debilitating my run, and after I run, or before I run, I do a good warm-up, like we're about to do some elasticity hops. If I can get the elasticity back, then you should be able to continue your activity while you're recovering. I just wouldn't try to push anything that really hurt. You know, if I went out for a 5-mile run and I could not get past mile 3, just was in pain for the last 2, I might pull back to 3 miles. If I'm a soccer player, then I would say during your break, if you get any breaks, do some elasticity, you know, do a little stretching. See if you can keep moving out of the pain, okay? But I will never say to just stop moving altogether unless you know for sure you've broken something. Okay, so let's talk about timing of the pull and using your own elasticity instead of using active muscle. So I do not want to be the person putting a 30-pound weight on my ankle to go running. I know you don't want to be that person either. I want to take weight off. I want to reduce impact. And here's what's so amazing. When you use muscle elasticity in your run, you reduce impact by 50% or more. Why? Because you're getting off the ground using elasticity versus using active muscle contraction. And your muscles love it. Why? Because your muscles do not want to do all this work that's unnecessary. When you do that to your muscles, they get tired. And when they get tired, then you get hurt. It's just that simple. So the fun part is we can all develop and use muscle elasticity, and you all have it. Nobody doesn't have muscle elasticity. So here's a great way to develop it. It's called an elasticity hop. And we're going to do a hop into a pull. So here, starting with your feet just about shoulder width apart, I want you to relax your arms, and you're just going to hop up, you're going to shrug a little bit, and what should happen is your feet should pop together. This is called an elasticity hop. See, I'm not using any, I'm not gripping, I'm not tight, I'm not tense, my knees are bent. So when I feel my feet touch the ground, I simply pop up. So I want you to try 5 of those and then just run 4 or 5 steps. No thought. Just 5 pops. Here we go. Up, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I just pulled a few. So what did I just sense in my run? I just put together, if I just do nothing but hop, 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 pull, 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 pull. You should have felt a nice rebound-like effect from the foot pulling. This really helps you with timing of the pull. Now, if I do my hops, and then I go try to run, and this sounds like this, that's late. Late pull and kick back. So one of the things I really, really hope you guys, if you've been following the videos, sorry, don't touch the water. Okay, if you've been following my videos, I showed you guys the running pose. This is called pulling, and it's using the hamstring to bring the ankle up under the hip. So when she asked me about late pull or pull on time, it's because when you're running, you only actually break contact from the ground. You do not have to pull your foot all the way to pose. Only during practice. This is why you guys need to watch these videos. So when you're running, traveling with the fall, your foot is actually only pulling up like this, but the hamstring reflex will finish the pull. So if I do these hops, it's also helping me feel how small the pull actually is. Come here, Oscar. Just come here, stand right here. If I'm just doing a simple little hop, and you can feel the up, 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 then run up, 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 you're more likely to create the correct thought for your run as well as the correct action. So when you're running, if you are using muscle elasticity, you should feel like you're popping up from the ground. Up, 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 right? Then you know I'm timing it right, I'm not over pulling, and I'm using muscle elasticity. If I'm feeling like pain in my hamstring, my shins, my anything else, then help yourself by getting up off the ground and even thinking it. If I'm running and I'm holding my shoulders over my hips and I'm thinking up, 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 I'm more likely to do the correct action. So please, please, like I said, go through. Yeah, we got the questions a little late. Okay, now I have questions. Okay, all right, I'm going to answer one more question. By the way, we have a whole segment on shoes. One of the things that I will say is I wear minimalist shoes, but I've spent years in minimalist shoes. Please make sure that you can feel your feet. And what I mean by that is if there's too much support in the shoe, then you're going to miss out on your own ability to use elasticity. But that being said, the reason I wear these is because they're comfortable for me. Start in a shoe that's comfortable for you. But keep that in mind. If there's too much cushion in the shoe, then you are unfortunately going to miss out on using your own elasticity. And again, it just increases that impact in your run. So be careful with too much support. Second question that I want to answer, very good question, is somebody said, now that I'm trying to pull, I feel like I'm running on my toes and my calves are getting tight. That's a great question, and also it really tells me that unfortunately you're not pulling. This is an important thing to understand. Everybody stand here for just a second and just do 3 jumping jacks without your arms. 3 jumping jacks. Could you feel the ball of your foot? I hope so. You're not on your toes, guys. Never in running are you on your toes. You're on the ball of your foot. This is so important. What do my toes do when I run? Your toes prepare your feet for landing. That's what your toes do. They don't push you. They certainly don't land you. Like they're not putting weight on them. So again, do that jumping jack 3 times. You're on the ball of your foot. Get to know your foot. That's so important. So if you feel like you're running on your toes, that says to me that instead of just simply pulling my foot up from the ground, you're actually looking for the ground. You're landing with your foot like this. That's a tense, loaded ankle. So I call this looking for the ground, which means you're running and you're like, I'm trying to find the ball of my foot. Very common, by the way, when people try to do this. And I have to get you back into that mindset of, what's your job? Your job's to pull. Up, 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 up. So if you're truly just simply pulling your foot up, you won't feel pain in your stress on your toes or on your calf. Why? Because you're not actively flexing or pointing. You're pulling that foot right up. Up, 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 up. But you do have to practice in place. You do have to practice these drills. You can't magically get it. Oh, thank you. I've been practicing. Right, okay, that was the other great question. So by the way, that's when I very first started teaching pose, that was our #1 issue was calves. So please, please know, if you are feeling your calves, 2 things to do. 2, well, specific for your calves. 1, add in those elasticity hops so that you can really feel the difference of using muscle elasticity to pull versus any kind of push. Knees are staying nice and bent. The second thing is, highly recommend you guys to add in extra self-care. Stretch. Stretch your calves a little bit because you are using different muscles. You're using new things. You're using a new movement, especially in the beginning. which is why I give out that combination of skill, strength, and self-care. And I'll finish with this. I love that you said that. Thank you so much. Someone just said, you know what? Thank you for reminding us that we practice pulling our ankle all the way up under our hip. Just practice. That's only in practice. In real life running, the quicker I can change support, the faster I'm traveling forward. Not even any speed or distance. I'm not talking about trying to run faster. I'm trying to get you guys to reduce impact in your run. I don't care if it's a 12-minute mile or a 6-minute mile. It doesn't matter. Your body doesn't care. What it cares about is how quick am I pulling my foot up from the ground. So yes, practice to pose, but when you run, up, 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 up. So again, you could use a metronome. I've got great tips in my on that YouTube channel, on that 30-day reboot. Go through it. Each workout, each practice is 2 to 3 minutes, and sometimes you need to listen and then try, because again, like she was saying, oh my gosh, can you imagine trying to run like this? I would be so tired. I would be tired, my hamstrings would hurt, my shins would probably cry. So keep in mind that practicing a new movement, it's like going out dancing in a new pair of shoes. You may not want to do that for 4 solid hours. So use the practice as like an alternative workout maybe, instead of trying to go take it out for a bunch of the time. Just spend a little bit of time practicing. Stand in that running pose, balance in it. Practice just pulling in place. Big pulls, just to feel it. And then practice the quicker pulls. And then, of course, the falling, the acceleration. Please, please, please remember that there's 3 elements to the gait cycle. It's pose, fall, pull. And unfortunately, if you skip the falling part, you're going to pay for that. And it's the most fun. It's the best part. It's free. It's not buying shoes at all. You just got to let your mind open up to the idea of falling. It's an allowing. It's crazy to think that way. But by the way, most of us, including me, very type A personality. I control it all. I do all the movements. You don't need to, though. You just need to have fun with your practice. And the more you practice just this, falling in the pose, hanging out, then when you run, it just feels so much lighter. So again, today I hope I covered elasticity. Using elasticity, adding in some hops, which will help you recover from your shin splints, your plantars, just as much as the stretching, just so you know. Everybody wants to stretch. Great. Nothing against stretching, but if I'm not developing strength and elasticity, then when I go back to my run, I'll have the same potential for that injury to come back. However, if I spend my time not just recovering from an injury, but I have no injuries, working on strength, skill, elasticity, then the joy of your run just really goes up that much more. So thank you guys. Keep those questions coming. It's a lot of fun for me. I'm here every Wednesday. Really happy to see the engagement. And again, absolutely, and I hope your shin splints go away. I really do. I suffered for a long time, and I don't anymore, and I'm telling you, when you realize it's very simple, you're like, oh, okay. Because awareness is first step, right? None of us were ever out there running trying to hurt ourselves. I mean, we don't want to do that. So spend a little bit of time with that running practice, put it in your warm-up, and have some fun with it, and keep talking to me. So again, get on that website. If you want to take the quiz, runrxquiz.com. The 30-day reboot is on the YouTube channel, RunRx. Thank you guys. Have a great week.